Right, today we're going to look at SD 51.10, or more exactly, it is 51.10 A, B, C, D, E. So there are 5 suttas here. All these suttas have the name Cetokila, mental barrenness. The 51.10a is the Panchaka Cetokila Sutta, A 5.205. These are on the 5 mental barrennesses. Then SD 51.10b, Nawaka Cetokila Sutta. This is the nines, a set of 9 teachings, A 9.71. This is the 5 mental barrenness plus the 4 satipatthanas. Then SD 51.10c is the Panchaka Vinibandha Sutta, A 5.206. This is on the 5 mental bondages. This is probably an older version of the 5 mental hindrances. Then the next one, SD 51.10d, is the Nawaka Vinibandha Sutta, A 9.72, and this is on the 5 mental bondages and the 4 satipatthanas. Then finally we have SD 51.10e, Dasaka Cetokila Sutta, the 10th discourse on mental barrenness, A 10.14, the 5 bondages and also the 5 mental barrennesses and their cure. Okay? So this the last one is what we will look at today, because this last one covers everything else. And it also the other 4 suttas, there are various excerpts and various versions of these Dasaka Cetokila Suttas. So by studying Cetokila Sutta, we cover almost all of the rest except for the Satipatthana aspect. So you can listen to this exposition today and then study the other 4 suttas, starting with 51.10a, gradually like that. Okay? I've revised the study notes here, so you should download the latest version from the website, and there should be a section, a new section, which explains all the 5 Cetokila, the 5 mental barrennesses and the 5 mental bondages. That is section 2 is called the key teachings of the Dasaka Cetokila Sutta. So you have 2.1, 2.2. So that's the new section, which is very useful. It's about 4 pages long, so it's good to download the latest version, dated around the 15th of August 2018. Now these mental barrennesses here refer to just the opposite of a fertile mind. You know, that's a mind that's not ready for spiritual training, a mind that is where nothing grows, in other words. So these are 5 things which kind of prevent us from cultivating spiritual training, from benefiting moving closer to the path of awakening, and also basically kind of growing in the monastic community, in the spiritual community. And the other set of 5 mental bondages refers to kind of, you can take them to be like mental hindrances preventing us from cultivating our mind. Now, the translation starts on the bottom of page 121. You can see there SD 51.10e, Dasaka Cetokila Sutta, the 10th discourse on mental barrenness, A 10.14. The 5 kinds of mental barrennesses and the 5 kinds of mental bondages. So here you see the sutta, although it appears long, it's actually quite neatly divided up into 3 parts. The first part is called the unabandoned negative cycle, which is section 1 going up to section 13. So this is the first part. That's the negative part. Then the positive part, you have the abandoned or positive cycle. In other words, all these negative qualities are abandoned, and that is section 14 up to actually it's up to the rest of the sutta actually. So actually it's half, not 3 parts, right? So they're kind of, but each section is again divided up into 2 sections, the 5 mental barrennesses and the 5 mental bondages. So I will talk about focus on the first part, on what these mental barrennesses are, or what mental bondages are. Okay. And now let's go into the sutta. Section 1. Bhikshus, for whomever, a monk or a nun, who has not abandoned his 5 mental barrennesses and has not cut off the 5 mental bondages, then come night or day, only decline in the wholesome states is to be expected, not growth. What are his 5 mental barrennesses that have not been abandoned? Okay, here the Buddha defines the 5 things that prevents our mind from being ready to cultivate in the spiritual training, if you like. Section 3. This is the first of the 5 mental barrennesses. Here bhikshus, a monk. Now notice here the Buddha addresses monks and nuns, but I mean if you look at the start, right? Section 1, here the Buddha says a monk or a nun. Then in section 3 the Buddha addresses only the monks. Now this is very important because we don't get this kind of arrangement very often. It shows here that this sutta is meant for a monk or a nun. It's very clear from section 1. But the Buddha is teaching the monks, his audience are the monks. So there's a footnote there, footnote 73, which will tell you that the word monk here refers to everyone who is listening. You find somewhere else there's another note in another sutta where if it is a teaching like this, the word monks refer to whoever is listening, because the monks are the most often present, and the monks like our representatives, if you like. And if the Buddha is teaching meditation, he says, "O monk," as in the Satipatthana Sutta, it refers to any meditator. So this we should be very clear, because otherwise you'll see practically all the suttas that they are addressed to monks. Only a few are addressed to specific people. You never see the Buddha addressing old laymen or old nuns. It's always old monks. So it's a kind of a symbolic kind of address for the general audience. Here, bhikshus, a monk, is doubtful, uncertain, lacking commitment, lacking faith in the teacher. So the key word here is doubt. Okay, any monk, bhikshus, who is doubtful, uncertain, lacking commitment, lacking faith in the teacher, his mind does not tend to ardor, to devotion, perseverance, striving. Here meaning to effort, right kind of effort, to directing his heart in the right direction, keeping up the effort and going on, not giving up. In other words, not moved to action in a spiritual way. For one whose mind does not tend to ardor, devotion, perseverance, striving, this is thus his first mental barrenness that has not been abandoned. Okay? So in other words, without this, your mind is not fertile, not spiritually ready. So here, by the way, this word teacher, sattha, refers to the Buddha. It is not the guru, it's not the unawakened teacher. Although it's good to have faith in this kind of teacher too, if he's wise and helpful. But all of us have only one teacher, that is Sakyamuni Buddha, that is the historical Buddha. So here, to doubt means to doubt the Buddha. Okay? To doubt the Buddha's awakening. To say that, oh, he is not really awakened, he still has to go further, become something else. And also to see a difference between the Buddha and the Arahats. In the Sambuddha Sutta, for example, it's clearly stated that the Buddha's awakening and the Arahat's awakening are the same awakening. It's just like being liberated, it's the same thing. So to have faith in the Buddha, not to doubt the Buddha, means to accept all these important teachings. And it also means to accept the Buddha's passing away, because the passing away of the Buddha is a very important event. You might say it's as important as the arising of the Buddha. The arising of the Buddha brings the Dharma, the liberating Dharma, into the world for our benefit. The passing away of the Buddha is the final legitimation, if you like, to the final proof that the Buddha's teaching is right, because the Buddha himself passes away. So the teaching of impermanence, of the Four Noble Truths, are confirmed by the Buddha's passing away, so to speak. And even with his passing away, his teaching is still true, his teaching is still efficacious, still works for us when we practice it, as far as we know what to do. So this is not to have doubt in the Buddha. This is the opposite of mental barrenness. Next, section 4, this is the second barrenness. So this one is, furthermore, bhikshus, a monk is doubtful, uncertain, lacking commitment, lacking faith in the Dharma. Here the Dharma, there's a correction to the alternate translation. It should be the teaching and the truth. The Dharma as teaching and as truth. The truth is always out there. The three characteristics, anicca, dukkha, anatta. Whether Buddhas arise or not, this truth is always there, that these three truths. The Buddha arises in the world and teaches us these three characteristics. So you have the truth and the teaching, right? So to doubt in either of this is to weaken our minds, prevent our mind from cultivating the Dharma. In other words, we look for other teachings, we philosophize, and we have all kinds of views, which does not help. For more details, please read section 2 of the revised version. Next one is section 5. This is the third barrenness. Furthermore, bhikshus, a monk is doubtful, uncertain, lacking commitment, lacking faith in the Sangha. Okay? Here again, Sangha has two senses. You have the noble Sangha and there is the monastic Sangha. So I take it as Sangha as referring to both the Sanghas. Not to have faith in the Arya Sangha means we reject the idea of the path of the four saints, that the stream winner is not the true saint, or to reject this kind of saint, and then one Sutana, the non-Sutana, and Arahat. So if we reject that, then we have doubt in the path. And this is against early Buddhism, against the teaching of the historical Buddha, and this is to reject the noble Sangha, which is very serious wrong view. To doubt the conventional Sangha, the monastic Sangha, is not to have faith in the training of the monastic Sangha, the monastic lifestyle, the rules, and so on, fellowship, and to talk about modernizing the rules, or these rules are not important, and so on. In other words, we are bogged down with the doubt that we can never become arahats. It's so difficult to be arahats, and we are so bogged down with this negative view. We forget that actually, if you cannot be arahats, you can still start to becoming stream winners, as stated in the 10 suttas of S25, the Okanta Sangyutta. If you read those suttas, you find it's not difficult to aspire to stream winners, to be stream winning. So this is where we should not be cynical and say, it can't be so easy as that. Sometimes some monks seem to want to make Buddhist practice so difficult for the laity, and so they are caught up with rituals and dedication of marriage, and so on. So here you have this provision given by the Buddha, the practice of impermanence, so that we will attain stream winning, certainly attain stream winning in this life itself, if not certainly at the very end of our present life, if we aspire to attain stream winning now. So please read up S25.1 to 10, the 10 suttas. The first one is Anicca Chakku Sutta, which is so clear in the sutta language on how to attain stream winning in this life. So even if we feel that we cannot attain arahathood, there's no excuse, because definitely we should at least aspire to attain stream winning. If not, then we might fall below the human state, which will not be very helpful for our spiritual development. Now, the next one, section 6. Furthermore, bhikshus, a monk is doubtful, uncertain, lacking commitment, lacking faith in the training, right? So here you can see it's quite systematic. Here you have Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and then the training. Sometimes you have another set. It's called the 4 respects, Garavata. Okay, respect for the Buddha, respect for the Dhamma, respect for the Sangha, respect for the training. So you can say these 4 respects are the kind of like opposite of this, opposite of the doubts, 4 doubts. So here, respect for the training here comprises the 3 trainings, Sikatthaya, okay, the training in moral virtue, in concentration, and in wisdom. In simple terms, the training in moral virtue is to discipline our bodily actions and speech, so that we are calm and ready for meditation, which is concentration, samadhi, and refers to mental cultivation. We learn to calm our minds, we learn to clear our minds, and together with moral virtue, we prepare ourselves to gain insight wisdom into the reality of life, which brings us liberation. So that is the training. Now if we doubt the training, then we are saying, these precepts are difficult to keep, or meditation also difficult to do, and so on and so forth, right? So whereas if you are really wise, you look at the sutta, there's so many ways you can the many skillful means you can use to effect your practice. For example, if you practice a lot of loving kindness, it's much easier to practice the precepts. If you're filled with loving kindness, with joy, you will naturally want to keep the precepts. You would keep the precepts as second nature. And then that also helps you to meditate, to get more peace of mind, and then that in turn helps your cultivation. So it goes back and forth like that. It's like two hands helping each other, washing each other clean, and the training builds up paripasu like that. Yeah, and then so that is the set of 5 mental barrennesses. Then in the second set you have the second, let's see, the 5. Oh, sorry, yeah. Section 7. Section 7 is the 5th mental barrenness. Okay? So just now you have the four doubts. The positive counterpart are the 4 respects, karawata. This is extra. This is number 5. This is about fellowship, okay? Section 7, that is brackets 5. Furthermore, bhikshus, a monk is angry and displeased with fellow brahmacharis. Fellow brahmacharis refer to other monks who are celibate. Notice here, the term is brahmachara. So in other words, remember the Sangha, they're all celibate. So the modern Zen monks, they're not celibate. So they cannot use the word monk or Sangha. They are priests. And you can use community perhaps, but not Sangha, if you want to keep to the teachings of the historical Buddha, that is. Because here Brahmachara refers to the celibate monastic practitioners. His heart troubled, unfeeling, or callous. So here, in other words, the Buddha is saying, if you have doubt, then there will be this very unhappy feeling among the monks. There's no fellowship. And this will not help you in your practice. So in other words, in the really good and true monastic community, the monks are happy. They look at each other happily in the eye, mixing like milk and water. Even when they observe silence, they are able to work together, as in the case of the Anuruddha Sutta, where the 3 monks went to retreat and they're able to do all their monastic duties even without speaking a word. And then once a week they get together to study Dhamma. So there you are. These are the 5 mental barrennesses. Then the Buddha goes on to the 5 mental bondages. Cetaso Vinibandha. What are the 5? Now section 8.2, this is the first one. Here, bhikshus, a monk is not rid of lust, not rid of desire, not rid of love, not rid of thirst, not rid of fever, not rid of craving for sensuality, right? Kame. No? So here, what the Buddha uses all the various terms for sensual inclination. Right? You have, of course, the most common word is lust, and you have desire, you have love, you have thirst, fever, craving. Okay, there's one sutta called the Parilaha Sutta, which focuses on sensual desire as a kind of fever, right? So here, I think we can understand here as meaning to be a true monastic, you have to learn to let go of any kind of attraction towards sense objects. So in other words, those are the physical sense objects of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. Whatever you see, hear, smell, taste, or touch. And then you have the Those are the objective aspects of sensuality. Then you have the subjective aspect, that is, in your mind, you don't harbor those thoughts of desire or wanting something nice to see, wanting something nice to hear, smell, taste, touch, and so on. So you have the objective aspect, subjective aspect, if you like, the objects and the thoughts themselves. Anyway, all these are in the notes. You can read up again in section 221. So here we can see here these 5 mental bondages. They seem to be an earlier version of the 5 mental hindrances. And the first one is on sensual desire. And then next one, section 9. Furthermore, bhikshus, a monk is not rid of lust, not rid of desire, not rid of love, not rid of thirst, not rid of fever, not rid of craving for the body. Okay, so just now was craving for sensuality, which is in a broad sense whatever arises in connection with our senses. In other words, it's kind of an outward thing, okay, looking outwards. Here the body refers to our own body, one's own body. Okay. In other words, here we can talk in terms of the 3 intoxications with youth, health, and life. Okay. In other words, we are caught up with the idea, we want to look good, look young, dress neatly, look presentable. Okay. We want to stay healthy, so that we look good, not for practicing the Dhamma, but to look good, presentable, admired by others. And then we want to live long, and kind of the idea of being reborn among the gods. Later on we'll come to that. So here this monk is obsessed with his own body, in other words. And then the next one, the third one, is in section 10. The words for desires are repeated, and this is craving for form. This is a bit tricky, rupa, form. So notice the first one is kame, which are translated sensuality. And then number 2 is the body, kaya, which is our own body or one's own body. And next one is rupa. The commentary says that rupa refers to the form of other people. Okay, that may well be the case, but I don't think it's limited to just other bodies. It also refers to probably the jhanas. Jhanas also are called form, rupa jhanas. So here maybe this monk is kind of attached to the bliss of the jhanas. Say, this is a wonderful feeling. I want to be reborn in this realm, and he does meditation to feel this joy, not so much for kind of cultivating insight and to free himself from defilements. So form has a broader meaning here. Then the 4th mental bondage, that is in section 11. Furthermore, bhikshus, a monk eats and overfills his belly and dwells indulging in the pleasures of the bed, of lying down, of sleeping, right? So here has to do with tinamita, of sloth and torpor, right? So here this becomes a hindrance, laziness. So here the monk has to, should eat just enough for his health. He doesn't need much food as a monk because he doesn't do much physical exertion. Of course, he still needs to do exercise. He does walking up and down, and he may have to do some other chores which are quite physical, like sweeping, cleaning, and so on, especially if it's a young monk. So here, to overeat means you're going to feel slothful, sleepy, tired after food, and so on. So here the monk is expected to be alert, having just enough hours of sleep to rest himself, normally sleeping like from say around midnight to 4 o'clock. That's the usual time. Or apparently the Buddha only sleeps, say, around 2 to 4, just 2 hours, but then the Buddha was a deep meditator. So, and of course the Buddha also rests a while after meals in the afternoon, and he does meditation at dawn and also meditation at dusk. So you can see there are periods of deep rest in between. Then the next one, this is the 5th mental bondage, section 12. Furthermore, bhikshus among lives the holy life, aspiring for a certain host of devas. Thus, by this moral virtue or ritual or vow or asceticism or holy life, may I become this deva or that deva. So here again, taking the wrong idea, wrong purpose of the holy life. Instead of working for nirvana, this monk thinks of being reborn in one of the higher states. But we know very well, if you have not attained at least stream winning, even if you are reborn in a deva world, when your karma ends, when the supporting energy ends, you go down into the snake's mouth and go down to a suffering state, even to hell itself. This is mentioned in the suttas. Only after attaining stream winning, if you do attain the heavenly world, you enjoy the happiness there, and when your karma ends, you are reborn in a happy human state, never below the human state in any subhuman plane. So a monk who thinks of gods and devas shows that he lacks this understanding of the Buddha's teaching. This also is common among lay people who are still influenced by the dominant theistic religions, so they still harbor this idea of feeling secure with some kind of creator God idea. And you can see sometimes they even write some kind of theistic prayer, which is really not Buddhistic at all. So again here we see in the case of such people, they lack a proper understanding. They lack a real love for the Buddha's teaching. Of course, they do have some connection with the Dharma, so hopefully they work a little harder to let go of this kind of wrong view, so that they can come closer to the teaching and to the path. So these are the 5 kinds of bondages from which we must free ourselves. And so this is what the next section is about, so which I don't have to go into because everything is repeated, and we are told how we should overcome them. So reflect on these 5 mental barrennesses and 5 mental bondages. Do we have them? If we do have them, we should work to get rid of them and to cultivate the positive counterparts, so that our journey towards the path of awakening brings us closer to it in this life itself. And with that, let us close by reflecting on what we have studied today. Whenever we reflect on the suttas, we're reminded where to go, how to go. And right now is the time to make the effort, not to wait. Because if we wait, we might become busy, we might fall sick, we might forget what to do. The world is always there to distract us. So now is the moment to calm yourself and tell yourself, let me aspire to stream winning in this life itself right now. May I habitually reflect on impermanence in all my experiences. And by this practice, may I come closer to stream winning in this life itself. Reflecting in this way is very good karma, and by the power of such good karma, may we be empowered with the wisdom and the courage to aspire to stream winning in this life itself. And also by the power of the three jewels, may our families and loved ones and people we know be well and happy. And also those who are practicing the Dharma too, may they see the fruit of their practices in this life itself. And by the power of the three jewels too, may those who are lost and have difficulty find their way to the true path in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.